Hi there, my name is Stuart Ross. I am a poet living in Cobourg, Ontario. And in fall of 2017, I had the great privilege and pleasure of visiting the writing class at Westminster Secondary School in London, Ontario. It was my first school visit as part of the Poetry and Voice Poets in the Classes program. It was an amazing experience, and I met some fantastic young writers. I met some great teachers. It was a lot of fun. And this year's cohort of creative writing students at Westminster has asked me to read them one of my poems. It's called Little Black Train, and I'll give you a little bit of background on it. I wrote it way back in 1990, and it is probably the poem that I've read more frequently than any other poem, though I haven't read it all that much in the last few years. I wrote it just after a 6-month trip through Central America. And on my way back from Central America, on my way back to the airport in Toronto, I stopped in Florida where my parents had a little winter place, and I hung out with them because I hadn't seen them in 6 months, and I spent about 4 or 5 days off and on writing this, for me, a pretty long poem called Little Black Train. It has absolutely nothing to do, at least consciously, it has absolutely nothing to do with Central America. And there's one little reference because it comes up at a crucial moment, and I'll just mention that. It's a reference to a guy named Dick Van Dyke. And Dick Van Dyke, when I was growing up in the 1960s, was like one of the biggest sitcom stars. He had a show called The Dick Van Dyke Show, and it was real funny. And there's a little reference to him at the end of the poem, so I thought I would just mention that. And I think that's all I'm going to say. And I'm just going to read the poem. And if you have any questions, if any of the students at Westminster have any questions or comments, you can funnel them to me by email through your teacher, Ms. Hardy. Alrighty? So, here we go. Little Black Train. Waiter, there's an alligator in my eye, and Christ, I need a shave. The way people look at me, I know I'm pale, got these rings under my eyes, and my whole face is tense. Looks like I haven't slept for a week, but I have, really. I'm waiting for something, but every time I look at my watch to see if it's late, I have no watch, and my bare wrist winks up at me, sends me a kiss, says, buy me a watch, big boy, make me pretty like all the other wrists. Pretend I'm rich, real rich. I have a heated swimming pool right in my living room. Hard to believe, but it's true. I walk up to the edge and drop all my clothes right there in my living room. Outside, it's snowing. I can see through my huge picture window, through which my neighbors all watch me in awe. Look at him, they say. A picture of splendor and right in his own living room. I jump in and the water doesn't even ripple, doesn't splash onto the carpet, and then I'm under, gliding along the bottom of the pool in my living room, back and forth, around and around, doing these little acrobatic flips. When I get to each end, I don't need to come up for air for 5 minutes or so, and when I do, I see there's a crowd at my window, and before I go under again, I hear them yell, jump, 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 and I realize, Jesus, I'm not in a swimming pool. I'm on the ledge of a 10-story building right in my own living room. And below, way the hell down there, there's so much traffic and it's raining, and I see my grade 6 teacher, Mrs. Sibbald, walk by. Mrs. Sibbald, I call, Mrs. Sibbald. And she stops and looks up and puts her hand to her mouth. I remember you, she yells, over the din of the honking horns and my neighbors calling, jump, jump, jump. You were a clever boy, she yells, but you didn't have a mind for science. Do you still see that Sidney Radomski? I once saw a cloud that looked like his shape, I yell back. My doorbell rings, and it is the postman, of course. Mister, do you know it's nearly 2 a.m, I say? And he hands me a box tied with string and says, sign here, and says, you look like you could use a little sleep, and I sign, and I say, yeah, well, here you are coming here at 2 a.m. And I close the door and untie the box and lift the lid, and this boxing glove pops out and punches me right in the nose. And I open the box again, and this boxing glove pops out and punches me right in the nose. And I open the box again, and this boxing glove pops out and punches me right in the nose. This is it, I say. This is the human condition. This is what it all boils down to. This is the bread and butter. This is the nuts and bolts. This is the crime and punishment. This is the Tom and Jerry. And there's a pounding on the wall that shakes the ashtray on my head, and my neighbor's voice at 2 a.m. People trying to sleep in here. People got jobs, you know. I go to the wall and pound my fist. How do you expect to sleep if you're yelling and pounding on the wall? But we love each other, my neighbor and I, and his children, Mary Astor and Dick Powell, named after movie stars you are too young to remember. And tomorrow all will be forgotten, and we will lend each other power tools, and he will ask me why I have an ashtray on my head. Oh, wait. I lied back there. I am wearing a watch. Well, I didn't really lie, but it slid so far up my arm that I just found it now. Just found it through my shirt while I was feeling how my biceps were doing and thinking about Russian literature. I mean, I don't get much exercise. There's no denying that. I'm not trying to hide anything or steer you wrong. I plead guilty before the court of physical fitness. But I was thinking about Popeye, and I was checking out my biceps, and there it was, like a miracle, like the parting of the Red Sea, like Jesus met the woman at the well, my watch, right there up on my biceps. And you could have fooled me. I really had no idea. It's 4 in the afternoon, and we have nothing at all to do, and I think Dick Van Dyke is on. Pull up a chair while I go shave. Little Black Train, 1990. I hope you enjoyed it. It was fun to read to you. Okay. Thanks for the interest. I appreciate it.